Basketball Manitoba podcast, we have Joel Themmen. He's been a staple in the basketball community in Manitoba for over 30 years. He's a graduate of Kildonan East High School. He then went on to play at the University of Manitoba for 3 years. He coached high school for 11 years at Kildonan East, Sisler, Mac, Fort Richmond. He coached the provincial team as an assistant coach 6 times and as a head coach 1 time. He's been an assistant coach with the Bisons, with the men and women, a total of 6 times. He's been an assistant coach at the Red River College for over 6 years, the Winnipeg Cyclone for a year, and most recently, he's currently the assistant coach at Canadian Mennonite University, a role he's held for 6 years as well. He's been a Basketball Manitoba board member for 2 years. He's done it all. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Darcy. That resume actually sounds pretty interesting.
I know you're like, man, I didn't know.
I did all that. Well, I honestly believe I'm the luckiest guy in Manitoba basketball. I've had opportunities left, right, and center. And
why do you think that is?
I'd like to think right place, right time, and maybe the right skill set, but probably more right place, right time, and who I knew. And I think they were able to maximize whatever my contribution was. But yeah.
Well, that's a humble way to jump on the podcast. It's interesting offline. I said, hey, I got to clean up the bio a little bit. And then we started going through everything that I just read. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. How could I forget? Of course you read Red River. How could I forget? Of course, like all these things. And sometimes we just forget people who are there all the time. You start to, I don't want to say take for granted, but you just say, oh, that's Joel. Like Joel's always there. Like Joel's there. Because I think about it, I'm like, yeah, you're basketball scene wise, like you're always there. You always have been, right? As long as I've been around, I'm like, it's Joel. So yeah. It's really cool just to kind of see it all listed and like the amount of work that you've done in the basketball community. And you're definitely one of the people that like everybody knows you, right? And that says a lot because you can't be around a lot if you're not liked. And so that's also a nice way to say people like you. So it's just really, really nice to have you on the pod. I'm interested to jump into your story and hear more exactly why you feel you're so lucky.
Yeah.
So it was interesting before, I'll also say this too, before you went live, you started telling a story. I said, no, Joel, just save it, man. I don't want to hear this yet. I want to hear it on the thing. And so you actually started saying, man, you said it was an interesting story of like, how you got started coaching. So we're obviously going to talk about how you got started in basketball, but I actually want you to continue that. Like you were kind of telling me a little bit about how you like actually started, or so was where you were playing, or it was junior high, something like that. I don't remember. What were you talking about?
So I played junior high at Calvin Christian. It's called Calvin Christian. It has a high school now and a junior high and an elementary. My dad actually helped found that school in 1950s or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really close. Everybody was from the same Dutch community. So I played grades 7, 8, and 9. But for people that don't know me, I'm about 6'4", about 260 right now. When I was in junior high, they thought I wasn't going to grow to full size. Like I was really, really tiny. Like I started grade 10 at 5'3.5".
No way.
And maybe 110 pounds. Like I was. So they were worried about that I wasn't going to grow to be and height does matter in basketball to some degree.
Yep.
So I played those grades 7, 8, and 9, but I didn't play a whole lot. And then I went to River East and I played for Brent Matsumoto, who's a referee now. And I still like him, even though he's a referee. Perhaps I like you. I do like you. And I didn't play much. We had a couple of really good players ahead of me. Mike Schween was kind of an all-star at that point, and Glenn's brother, Glenn, his younger brother was Brent, and Brent played on the team. So I had Glenn for grade 10. I didn't play much, and then in grade 11, I actually got cut from the varsity team at River East. So I didn't have anything to do. I would get up every morning with my dad at 6 a.m. He would drive me downtown. I would take a city bus back to River East. I had to go all the way downtown to take a bus back, and then I would shoot from about 6:45 till school started about 8:15 every morning, never failed, never stopped. And then I forget who connected me, but John Pritchard, a neighboring junior high, needed a coach for the grade 7 team, not the 8 and 9 team. It used to be grade 7s, and 7, 8, and 9 used to be junior high. So he said, do you want to be the coach? And so I was the coach knowing pretty much nothing. It was because I hadn't had a lot of coaching, and Rod Harris was my junior high coach, And he went to school at U of M, and Martin Riley was in some of his phys ed classes. So, but Rod was kind of an athlete. He was more of a hockey player than a basketball coach, but I was his first class. So I didn't know a whole lot. So I got my claim to fame is I got the kids to the other junior highs on time. So that was kind of my first foray into coaching. Show up. Well, like if you show up, you
You did the job.
And we had a couple of games where single figures might have been what was talked up. So it wasn't the most auspicious start. The NBA was not calling me up. And so that's how I got into coaching. And
But this was in the 10th grade?
11th grade. That was grade
11th grade. So like you didn't play basketball because you got cut that year. So you're like, well, I guess I'll coach.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And then I worked my butt off that entire year in the summer. And then fortune smiled on me too. I grew about a foot in a year.
I was going to say, yeah, you must have grown a little bit too.
Yeah. And it's funny because my nickname in grade 10 was Slow-Mo Joe. I was small but slow.
Yeah.
Like deadly combination. Like often they say he's small but quick. No, I was small but slow. But I actually gained coordination. Now I had a full year in grade 11 where no clothes fit. And high school isn't the kindest place to someone who is wearing pants that are 6 inches short. So at the end of that year, I didn't know if I had a role with River East going forward. And I lived closer to Kildonan East. So I transferred to Kildonan East. But I wasn't aware enough to go and talk to the coach. I knew some of the players from around the neighborhood. And I showed up to Kildonan East on the first day. And I remember a teacher had asked me, her name was Ms. Vukitz. She goes, because I had to go they accidentally, because I was a first year at KU, they put me with the grade 10s.
Oh, they thought you were, yeah.
Freshman orientation stuff. But I tried out for the team, and that's where I ran into Ross Wedlick, who's been one of the most influential people in my life. I lost my dad pretty young, and Ross has been like a second father to me in so many ways. And he's been incredibly influential in the basketball community in the last 4. Like, if anybody doesn't know Ross Wedlick or hasn't been touched by something he's done, then they haven't really been in the basketball community in Manitoba.
No, you had thought, yeah.
And he tells the same stories. Like the first time I met him at the tryouts, because I didn't even know to go to. It's funny. I went to the gym because I was so naive. I thought all coaches were phys ed teachers.
Yeah.
So I went to the gym, and he wasn't there. It's like, oh, maybe I don't know who it is. And he was in this geography pod. That's what they called them back then. It was kind of almost open airish. And I think I talked to him the day before tryouts. And of course, he had no idea who I was. Like I was the last guy on the bench at River East 2 years ago, and I was 5'4". It's not a great selling story.
Yeah.
But I went to KE, and so we tried out for the team and made the team. And it was okay. We made a kind of top 10-ish team, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that realm there. I can still remember the day before our first game, he calls out the starters. And I'm nervous because I want to start, right? Everybody wants to start, and I'm a great 12 guy. And he calls out the starters, and he calls the second team, and my name doesn't come up. So I'm not even in the top 10.
Wow.
11 and 12. So I'm not fighting back tears, but it's a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
And so I go and sit down on the bench, and 3 of us are sitting on the bench and 9 players on the floor. And he goes, "What are you doing sitting on the bench?" And I said, "Well, you didn't call my name." He goes, "Yeah, yours was the first name I called. You're on the starting team."
Oh, you didn't hear him?
I was so nervous that I didn't hear. It was like the Swedish, the chef. I already heard. I had no idea what he was saying. I sat down. He goes, "No, you're on." And so that's I ended up starting the entire year, and that was kind of my high school.
That's crazy. So then, I mean, again, you mentioned Ross. Like Ross was our first interview. Like he was interview number 1, and I always tell the same Ross story. It's the shortest story ever. I was an up and coming coach or whatever, helping John Lundgren at Gordon Bell, and Ross is the ref. And I didn't know who Ross was at the time. I didn't know idea. And then they're like, "This guy's terrible," right? But then like John's like, "Oh, that's Bill and just related to Adam and Bill and stuff like that." Come to find out later, this guy's like a legend, and he's doing just great things. He's been around forever. He's a mentor to all these people. And that was one of those moments when you're young, you realize, oh, you don't know anything, man. You're a dummy. Like, shut up. But Ross is a legend. And yeah, you said he tells the same story. So I thought you were about to tell one.
Oh, well,
he says the same stuff all the time. I love every time he does it.
We're going to take that team. We're going to go play Lebo Tech. We're gonna play the Sisters of the Poor. It's
It's
it's a,
always the same one-liners,
he
right?
he actually played national team too. Ross played 1 year on
Yeah.
the national team, on the senior
Yep.
national team.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a 6'4.5", 6'5" post to play national. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's big time. Yeah. I got to hear his story. It was such a cool interview. Every time I get to talk with, I mean, honestly, anyone, even yourself, I just love it so much. And he's like one of the OG legends, right, in the community. So you mentioned you transferred and everything like that. I want to take it back. So like, you're obviously you weren't tall when you were young. Why was it that you started playing basketball? Did you have some mentors or people who pushed you into it? What are your first
Yeah,
memories of the game? Like,
yeah.
why'd you even start?
So it starts actually in grade 4.
Okay.
My brother, so my brother and I were actually the same height. So he was small, but we were both small growing up. Nobody really knew. But he had a man's body, kind of like in grade 6 or 7.
Mm,
And so he played hockey. But back then, like hockey now is like thousands of dollars a year, and you're playing inside. Hockey back then, when you first played your first couple of years, it was usually outside. My
okay.
brother
Yeah.
Mark
Yeah.
was pretty good, but my dad, I think I was in grade 3 or 4, and my dad took me to a game in Morse Place. And my skates were probably a little bit too tight. They were hand-me-downs from my brother. But it was like there was no such thing as a cold day. It was like you went out and the ice was so hard you couldn't even really skate. And so you're out there, you're freezing. And after the game, we go into the Morse Place Community Club and kind of go down inside. And my dad takes my skates off, and my toes were so blue they thought I might lose one.
No way.
Yeah. So I remember on the way home, I said to my dad, would it be okay if I just stayed inside and read? And took up reading. I don't want to play hockey anymore. And he had a little bit of a tear in his eye. He said,
Yeah. Yeah.
fine, you can be my academic kid. So from that point forward, I was looking for an indoor sport.
Mm.
And we didn't have a volleyball team in grade 7. It was because like when I say it was a small junior high, we had, there were 9 grades, but only 8 teachers in the school.
Oh wow.
Because
Yeah.
some of the grades were like, that teacher's got to take 2 classes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had, like each class had 16 to 18 kids. That was it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So there wasn't a volleyball team, so there was a basketball team. And it was grade 7. Rod Harris was a new teacher there, and it was warm. I got to play inside. It was a sport to play inside.
Uh,
So that's
wow.
on a cement floor, because that's what the old gym at Calvin Christian was. It's funny. I took we took CMU. We were playing an exhibition game this year, and we actually went back to the old school. And there was a caretaker there, and he let me walk around because it's built up. There's
Yeah.
the senior high in Transcona, but the old junior high is still by River East. And he let me walk around, and they had all the years going back. They had 40 years going back, and I guess I was 41. So my sister's pictures there. My brother and I aren't there. But I mean, it's so far back, they were black and white pictures on.
Wow.
So it's because it was an indoor sport. That's the only
Yeah.
reason. It was indoor and warm, and I didn't have to freeze my
Say
knee.
like I'm not playing hockey anymore. So then when did you actually start to like basketball? Did you like it right away? Do you
I
remember your
did
first
right,
games?
right away. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. So Rod, the coach, um, as part of the skill test, you had to shoot a free throw, and for whatever reason, and maybe people think differently, but back then I had really good like shooting form. My shooting form was kind of always kind
Mhm.
of perfect, and I just remember during the skill test for the grades or whatever. Do you have to shoot 2 free throws? They went in, my form looked good. I'm like, I think I like this sport.
Yeah, you get that
And
immediate gratification when the ball
yep,
goes through. You're like, I got something here. Yeah.
think I can do this. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. And then obviously you kind of brought us through high school already. You're short, you grew a whole bunch. You went to K that last year in K, do you remember how you did? Who were some of your teammates? Like what was that year? What year was that?
1982,
That was 82. Okay.
81, 82. Yeah. Our Chris Moskal was our starting center. And well, Chris Moskal and Andy Kosinick started inside. I started at one wing. Neil Eden started at the 2, like I played 3. And then Rob Russell, a very good athlete, he started at the point guard. And then we had some other guys on the team too. The whole team was just really good guys and just
Hmm.
people to be with. And had always been together because, of course, usually high schools come from the same.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the outside guy coming in,
Hmm.
and I think the only guy that really didn't appreciate me is the guy that was going to be playing this position.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going to leave his
exactly.
name off because I'm not sure he would just. Otherwise, it was pretty fantastic experience. But
Nice,
it was
nice.
Rob Brown was on that team, Jeff Chartrand, Joe Lamarck. Joe Lamarck played at Red River actually after that, and he was great. Just a super guy too. Yeah,
Yeah, so and it's interesting because like you would be what we call a late bloomer, and it's obviously we're going to talk, later on with your long coaching career, and you're at CMU right now, but there was a period of time where those programs like CMU were like they were active, and then there was a period of time when they didn't really have teams, and that was kind of when I was coming up. There's some stuff, but it wasn't as active as it is now, or it was before. And you had mentioned that you played actually, you know, junior Bisons before playing Bison. So like, talk to me about just the transition from like growing a whole bunch, not playing grade 11 ball, playing at a new school, growing a whole bunch, obviously being a late bloomer, what was that transition to like actually moving on to U of M? Did you know you wanted to play, or you like, hey, I'm
oh
just
yeah,
going to U of M? And how did that all happen?
yeah. So I knew I wanted to play, and now I ran into Martin Riley. So Martin Riley
Okay.
was the coach at U of M, and he did not recruit me.
Yeah.
Now Ross did talk to him, so I was, Martin. But I remember the first intro I had to Martin. The first time you go to U of M, they've kind of got some one ways. So my friend Henry Verbeek, and Henry Verbeek played. He and I played together in junior high and grade 10 at River East, and then we were against each other in grade 12. He was at River East, I was at Kildonan East, but we carpooled every day. And so this was in the summer. We're going to start going to Bison East. Actually, during the grade 12 year, we started to go to U of M to play, but we actually didn't go. Didn't know about Bison East, but somebody knew about Frank Kennedy, and Frank Kennedy had those rubber floors.
Yes.
It was so Rob Russell, Henry, myself, a few other guys. We'd go up to you could sneak. You go to the back of Frank Kennedy, and if you pulled the door hard enough, it would pop open, and we would go and play. So in grade 12, I was starting to go to campus. We'd probably go, every second Saturday or so.
Yeah.
And one day we get into the Brown gym, and there's this goofy looking guy in painter pants. Yes, painter pants. So, okay, for those of you that don't know, they're jeans that are really long and they had suspender straps,
Yeah.
and they call them painter pants because they have little side pockets. Apparently, they're
Yeah.
coming back in. Some of
They
them are
are.
practice
Yeah.
now.
Like yeah, they definitely are.
So this,
Uh,
I don't know who this guy is, but we walk in, and it's a really dingy gym, and he throws down this spectacular dunk. And I'm like, who is this guy? And Rob, who was a year younger than me, he was in grade 11, he goes, oh, that's Dan Becker from Fort Richmond.
yeah.
So that's how I met Dan Becker. And it's funny too when I see Dan at events now, and he's still tall, but he's not really when he was young, he was broad, and he's probably the most talented, physically talented, skill-wise talented pig anybody that's ever come out of Manitoba. But we'll get to Dan in a bit. But that's where I met Dan. So we were always playing a Frank Kennedy, and we didn't go to Bison East because we were, to be honest, a little bit intimidated because that's where the university players went.
Yes. Yeah.
So the first time we went was in the summer. So Henry and it was a blue Dodge something or other. We're driving into U of M, and so we're on one side of the street. There's the car coming the other way because we kind of got lost. We're going the wrong way, and he's trying to wave us down, and we're like, "Yeah, whatever, dude, get lost." I don't know if I gave him the finger or not. I'm not 100% sure. This guy that was trying to wave to us, and finally we pull up beside. We finally find Bison East. We pull up beside it, and lo and behold, the other car pulls in right beside us. We're like, "Oh, is he mad because we kind of maybe pulled him off or whatever?"
Yeah.
And it's Martin Riley. He gets out of the car. So that's my intro to Martin.
Wow.
And then he goes, guys, I was just trying to wave you down because you were on a one-way street going the wrong way. So that's my auspicious introduction to Martin.
Wow.
But so he was the head coach at the time. And I would like to say I should have made that team, but probably not. Like I was a fringe university player those first couple of years.
Hmm.
I could have been your 12th man, but I also could have been your 15th man.
Hmm.
Um, because I didn't really play grade 11, so I didn't play much in grade 10.
Yeah.
Just some confidence stuff. It's interesting when I see John Giesbrecht and what he brings to the table. I could have used somebody like that
Mm.
5 years ago because I was,
Yeah.
haven't played a lot. So that was the first year U of M had a JV team.
Mm.
They had one in the mid 70s, and they'd actually had some really good players come through, but they kind of shut it down for 6, 7 years. So
Yeah.
Tom Crew, who ended up later coaching at a bunch of different schools, there was a school now near Charleswood High.
Yeah.
Charleswood Junior High used to be Charleswood High School,
Yes. Yes.
and Tom coached there, and he coached us, for 2 years. And we lost 1 year of eligibility, not 2 years, because the first year we played kind of in a college league. We lost a year of eligibility. The next year we just joined senior men's.
Got
But
it.
Tom coached us for those couple of years, and we were really good. We had Scott Martin,
Yeah.
who probably should have made the Bisons because he was an incredible high school. For you, again, you see Scott Martin. It's interesting when I see all of us aged, and people are like, well, Martin Riley, he's 5'11", and he's
Yeah.
beat up his body for so long with sports. How good was he? It's like you guys have no idea. Like
Yeah.
you have, like Martin Riley is singularly the hardest guy I've ever played one-on-one against. So that first year though, I'm always in the gym, and Martin was still playing a ton. So he actually asked me then to practice with the Bisons. So I wasn't on the team. And I
Ah.
did practice with them for 2 years. But then he and I would always stay after and we'd play one-on-one. And the rule was you had to shoot free throws to see who got the ball. You shot 10, and then if you each had 10, then you'd have to go out to the top of the key to shoot. But it was if you shot from the top of the key, it had to go off. You're shooting straight on, but that was too easy of a shot for Martin. So it had to be a bank shot from the top.
Bang straight on. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah. That's
what do
tough
you,
shot.
how do you, so he started with the ball every single freaking time. And we'd start in the low post. And I'm 6'3.5" by then, maybe 6'4". He's 5'11", and I'm going, this would be a piece of cake. And the first thing he does, a little head fake. I'm all over the place. He does a layup. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. Then you go to the other side of the key. He kind of fakes the middle, takes a dribble, and he steps away from the hoop, and he shoots this crazy left-hand hook. And I'm like, no. And I think we played 4 or 5 games, and it was 55-0. Like, he didn't score a point. And then he goes, okay, now we're warmed up. But he's already done like 15 minutes of stretching, pool of water on the ground,
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
train stretching. And we went and played outside. And I think we averaged probably 11 games per day. Like,
Really?
well, some of them were shorter
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because we played keepers. Um, so I think I worked it out once. It took me 4 years to beat him. So if you do the math on that,
Wow.
it's like I lost 9,000 games or 10,000 games to Martin before I beat him. But now if Martin ever watches this, Martin, I'm the only guy that's ever beat, he got hurt, and I took advantage of that. I'm the only guy that's ever beat him 11-0, and the only guy that ever beat him back-to-back games, ever.
Hold on. But you're saying that you beat him when he was injured?
Well, he was older and injured and not. I don't care. I'm taking the win. The first
Yeah.
actually, I beat him probably a total of 10 times out
Okay.
of like literally 20,000. But the
Yeah.
first time I beat him, ball goes through the hoop. He's grabbing the ball as it goes to the mesh, and he's pushing it into my chest. Goes play again, and I'm like, no way. I left the gym and walked out, and he's like, you can't do that. I go, I've been doing that for 4 years, and I always leave on a loss. You're taking this one.
Oh man, yeah, that's Martin again. If you are listening again, would be honored to say yes, please, please, Martin, say yes. I mean, he's everyone has a Martin Riley story that's interacted with him, and it's
He was a captain of the that's
it's
actually from the 76 Nationals that you can't see. Like he
yeah,
was the last cut from the national team in grade 11. In grade 11,
yeah, no, it's unbelievable because I think I have no idea how old he would have been in 2001, 2002. But again, like the man just had a presence about him. I didn't know who he was. There's certain people you don't know who they are. Like
Yeah,
you've heard of them or whatever.
right,
But
yeah.
when you meet them for the first time and they start to talk, it's instant respect where they start to show you something. You're like, oh, there doesn't be anything else. You don't have to see them playing a game. He was one of those guys, right? It was just like there's something about him. And then obviously when you bring people out and just destroy them, like doing those crazy hooks you're talking about, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? Like this hook in the middle of the key with his left hand. Like that's not even a real thing. Like, you're like, I've never even seen that before. Like it's just, yeah. Anyways, that's Martin. But so then obviously you've had tons of interactions with Martin. You mentioned Dan because you guys are coming up around that same time. You played junior basketball, Scott Martin. How'd you actually get onto the actual team? Like, what was that transition like?
So Martin was there for 2 more years, and then left, and then Rick Suffield took over.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried out for Rick the first year, and Randy Casano, and I knew kind of Randy through a little bit, like he knew that I played for Ross, and but I didn't know him well. But he was Rick's assistant, and I got cut again. And but I'm pretty stubborn, maybe not that smart. So I was in the gym every day working out all the time, all the time. And then I tried again the next year. So it's my fourth year of university. I've been cut every year. And by the way, there's provincial teams going on. I've been cut, I think, more than any human being in the history of the province of Manitoba because I'm stubborn. I keep trying out. And then so Rick's first year was sensational. They went to the Final Four.
Mhm.
Joe Oakums had come that year, and they had Tony
Yeah.
House. Martin had recruited Tony from Ottawa. Terry Garrow. They had a phenomenal team. Brian Gray, Scott Martin. I can't even think of all the names. They were big. They were athletic. They were tough. Tony Kaufman had come across, and but they had a kind of a losing streak. They lost 2 or 3 games in a row in November, I think, of Rick's second year. Might have been his third. Might have been his third year. Might have been cut 3 times from Rick. And Trevor Hoylett, and for those of you that don't know Trevor, one of the best athletes in the history of Manitoba. And we lost him way too young. But Trevor had played for Martin for 2 years. I think he played 1 year for Rick and was going to concentrate on football. But he was in the gym occasionally because he was he was phenomenal, whatever he did. And he comes into the gym. It's like a Tuesday afternoon. And he goes, I think Coach Suffield wants to talk to you. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Like, I'm in this gym a lot as I'm
Yeah.
He goes, well, they want to add some people to their roster, so they just added me, and he wants to talk to you. And I'm like for what? And he goes, I think they want you to play. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, okay, cool. So I go to Frank Kennedy, come around the corner. His office door is open there. And I kind of knock on it, come around, and I'm not, I don't know, is Trevor pranking me and I'm going to look like an idiot? I don't know.
Yeah.
When I knock on the door, I kind of look around and I go, Coach, I hear you wanted to talk to me. He goes, I do want to talk to you. I'm not sure if you want to talk to me, but I want to talk to you. He goes, I'd like you to join the team. And I had my first practice with the Bisons that Tuesday afternoon.
Wow. And this is like you said around November?
That would have been November, still pretty early in
Okay.
the season.
Yeah.
Maybe it was December, but we ended up so on that we were still really good that year. It just didn't kind of gel. But Brandon was the national champion that year, and we had from that point on. And I'm not saying I was it just the mechanics of the team changed a bit.
Mhm.
From that point on, I think we probably had 6 losses the rest of the year, 4 of them to Brandon.
Yeah.
Because Brandon had Jebison, like they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so we're playing them in the GPAC used to be the league. It wasn't We had our own league,
Yeah.
Plains Athletic Conference. And the game is so we're playing Brandon in the finals, and if we win, we go to nationals. And if they lose, they still go to nationals. They're high enough ranked. They would have got the wild card, but we had to win. And I can still remember Joe had 29 points on 13 of 17 shooting. Got the ball.
Whoa.
He took their entire front line on. They couldn't stop him. My claim to fame. So I ended up starting. Trevor
Really?
ended up starting that game and playing. In fact, when they had the intros at center, you go out, whatever. You didn't shake the coaches and the referee's hand at that point. You ran out to center. There was a guy named Marvin. I forget your last name. Really good. He was supposed to match up with the 3 from our side or the 2 from our side. And so I run out and I can hear him. He looks over at Jerry and he goes, "Who's that?" That's literally what he said. But I ended up having a pretty good game for me, which was I passed the ball to Joe inside, played decent. I was actually known for being a bit of a defender. And we
Yeah.
lost 73-67. I still remember that 6 points. And they didn't have a game within 20 points the rest of the run. So I think we were probably a top 3 or top 4 team in the country. We just couldn't get by Brandon. And Jerry was, a legendary coach.
Of course.
Every one of those guys could play in the low post, the high post. They all yeah. But so I ended up playing 3 years, and then I graduated university, and I started doing student teaching, or no, substitute teaching. I was a high school teacher once upon a time.
Really? So like when you were at university the whole time, you were doing like your education degree and like
I'd already done a math degree.
Okay.
I had a math degree, and so I did my education degree. So
Got it.
I wanted to be a coach and a teacher. And so I ended up coaching with Ross back in Kildonan East. And
nice.
so we coached a couple of years there. And actually my first year back there, I think, we actually won provincials.
Who was on that team?
That's right. We're the luckiest team in the world. So Windsor Park, it's 90, 89, 90, 91. Windsor Park is here, and the rest of the teams are here. Coach Thompson had a good team. They had Neil Armstrong, a bunch of other guys, not the astronaut, but the basketball player. He gets hurt right before provincials. They're still seeded number 1. We're seeded number 8. But I mean, like I said, if he's healthy, they win the entire thing. So it's just, again, that's why I said I'm the luckiest guy in the world. We win that game because they're without their best player. And he was an all Manitoban, really good. And we just had perfect matchups. And we ended up playing the legendary Dave Gus in the finals. So we had Chris Chartier, who ended up playing at UW. And he's a principal now. And we had Jared Hall. We had a guard named Ian Hope. And a couple other really good players on that team. I think in provincials, in the 2 games in provincials, he played 80 minutes. He had 1 turnover.
Wow.
In 80 minutes. He made sure we got a good shot all the time.
Yeah.
And Chris was just dominant, and everybody just kind of played their role, and we ended up kind of winning. That's what I mean. Like I've just been so fortunate that, and terrible that Neil got hurt. And but I mean, life has just kind of, basketball has worked out for me. We're okay. Well, I happen to be in the right place at the right time, and events happen that we could do that. I'm pretty sure with him healthy, they beat us in the first round by 20.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's
even though Ross and I were good coaches. Windsor Park had a lot of talent.
So was that was your first year coaching, like back with Ross, or was that the second year?
That was my first year back.
Okay. And
then it's actually interesting. At the end of that year, our grade 10 team was pretty good, but I still played a lot. Like, I just finished college, and I was a good full court. I was a great half court player because I spent so much time just on my own skill development. Scott Anderson used to call me, Scott, if you ever catch this, he used to call me the king of half court. Like, I see the 3-on-3 stuff now, and I'm going, I was born.
That was it.
Too early. This is my game. But we're playing 2-on-2, so it's 2 of our grade. It's a grade 12 guy, and then Kirk Forteau, so it's Chris Chartier and Kirk Forteau, who ended up the next year being a really good high school player, and I get stuck with the freshman kid. And look, I've just finished college. I'm athletic. I'm kicking the crap out of them. Of
course.
And then the odd time I kick it to this skinny freshman kid. And the first time he gets it, he scores on Chris. And Chris was a first team, like, he was first team all Manitoba, top 5 players in the province. And the kid kind of scores like, okay, all right. And he does it again and again and again and again and again. I'm like, who is this skinny kid that's all over the, like, what's he think? And he's just killing it. And that was Elliot Unger.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say that.
And it's just like I went from, you see the freshman team play. And by the way, back then, shorts were short. But Elliot was 6'7", so his shorts would probably be outlawed in most civilized countries today. He shouldn't be allowed to wear them. And I thought he was, he was a good grade 10 player. But when he would play with us, you just instantly went, oh, he's got it.
Yeah.
And his talent, like, for anybody who doesn't know, like, Elliot used to play against the Cyclone and Thunder guys. Now, Elliot he wasn't the world's best defensive player. He was pretty good, but offensively, you cover him. Like, you're talking D1 players that came here, they would just shake their heads and go, okay, because he would pull up from 3, and then he makes the game look so easy. Like, the ball comes off the rim and he just kind of taps it back in, or just catches and does a little layup. And you're always just lucky. He's just in the right place, and you realize, but he does it to the tune of 30 points and 16 rebounds every single game.
Insane.
He did it at 20. He did it at 30. He does it at 40.
Yeah.
He is one of the best players I've ever coached. Had he grown up in the States, he would have played for money.
Oh, for sure. Without
There's
question.
no question.
Yeah. Without question. Yeah.
Like 6'8", with the skill he has. And he's actually a really good competitor. It's funny, when I saw him coach high school after, he's a real defensive coach. He's like, you guys got to get down and play D. And I'm like, hold it. Where was that before? But in terms of talent, I put him and Dan Becker. And because size matters to a degree. Like Irfan and Suk and all those other guys were incredible players. But you kind of need that size. And both those guys are 6'8". Had they grown up with the competition level you would have had when they were younger, they would have played somewhere for real big money.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, again, I've obviously interviewed Dan, and I played against Elliot when you're like, the heck, man, this guy's, like you said, in his 40s, and it doesn't matter. Like, he's still killing people straight out of college. Doesn't matter. Like, he's just killing people. And you said he's the most talented player that you've ever coached? Would you say that?
that I've ever coached.
At least in high school, because obviously, like,
Certainly in high school, no question. But
yeah,
probably like some of the best players that I've coached, Okamabua always stands out.
of course.
And I think he was on. He actually told the story of how I started working with him.
Yeah,
I coached
yeah.
him in the provincial teams. And I ran into, I was going back for my master's. I've done my computer science degree. I was going back for my master's and my PhD. Never did finish my PhD. But I run into him in front of the bookstore. And he goes, "Hey, I had a pretty good game the other day." I'm like, yeah, it was okay. He goes, "What do you mean?" They go, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, you're a good athlete." And he goes, "Well, I cut really well." I go, "Nah, you don't." He kind of wandered and they just jump over people. And I didn't mean to be mean to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, "But here's what I'll do is you come in every day. I'll come over from my lab or whatever." And we worked every day for probably an hour a day, hour and a quarter a day, just on simple drills. And his improvement, and not that all I did was pass him the ball. That's really he did all the work. But he went from being, a good athlete to becoming like he was a great Canadian college basketball player. And when he played with the Cyclone, like he played with them for a while, certainly practiced. There was nobody that could really stop him. He was just so athletic and tough and
Mm.
such a competitive. But so I lumped those two guys together, some of the best players that I've ever coached.
Mhm.
But talent-wise, I can't think of anybody better that I've ever coached with just raw talent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
off the
were
charts.
you there as a coach when he was at U of M as well?
No,
Different,
no.
different time. Okay.
Yeah, I came back later in the so yeah, I'll have to do the timing on this. Yeah, no, I did that's when I coached the women's team, I think in 95. And that's the
Okay.
first
Yeah.
time
Because
I'd
he would have
ever
been that 90s. Yeah.
yeah, he would have been, I think that might have been his last year. And then it was the years after that I worked with Rick on the men's team again.
Got it.
Kind of
Got
one
it.
of the work I was doing with Ogo, it kind of gradually worked
And
into
that
that.
was Ogo's little run there. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So then Elliot, obviously Ogo, some of the people, I mean, you obviously helped out at the college level, men, women at Red River. Um, I'm not going to ask you who the favorite person you ever coached was, but who are some of the other like most talented players or people that you had the honor to connect with and coach and mentor?
I would I would say I really like competitors. Anybody that I've ever coached goes, he leaves the X's and O's to Scott Martin or someone else, but he sure makes us work hard. That's kind of my calling card is you compete. If you can get your
Mm,
team to compete, you're going to be pretty good. And so there's two players that I've either coached or played with that stand out with their competition level. So Martin, actually, we had a senior men's team, and it's a ridiculous name. Grant, this is your fault. It was called the Transcona Studs.
yeah, yeah.
So we had this team, and like I said, we had Norm Fromell, 7 feet, about 400 pounds at the time. Murray Davidson, 6'8", 6'9", about 300 pounds. Glover Jackson, who had played for the Cyclone, 6'10", 270. Joe Ogums, 6'6", 250. And then myself, Steve Newton, and Grant, kind of, a guy named Sergeant Koblenovich, who's a coach at U of M now.
Yeah, surgeon, yeah.
That rounded out the team. And then I said to Martin once, I said, because I've been trying to get Martin to play with us forever. It's like, no, I'm done playing. My career's over. So I talked him into playing. So he's 54, I think, at the time. And back then, you could actually, CIS players were allowed to play senior men's after CIS ended. Well, it used to be called,
Oh,
what's it called? It's youth sport.
CI, it used to be CIAU, then it was CIS, and then it's U Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the young guys team that's really good is starting Suka Irfan. And Suka just finished college, I think, and Irfan is just finished his second or third year. So we're talking some of the best guards in the country.
Yeah.
And we roll out this old guy, I say that in quotes, and he killed him. It was, I think they talk about it to this day. It's like, and Chris Lucas was on that team.
Yeah.
Chris Lucas is one of the most competitive players. Like,
Yeah.
so when I talk about competitors, so Martin is that level of competitor.
Yeah.
And then TL Johansson from the women's team in
Hmm.
95.
Hmm.
Um, so it's the semifinals. We're playing against Laurentian. They had a first team all Canadian center, Diane. I can't think of her last name. And we're down by 64, 63, or 63, 62, something like that. And TL is a great ball handler. And she's going one-on-one against Diane. And there's just kind of a 2-on-1, but our two is way back there. So we're kind of like, oh, get a good shot. TL puts her head down, goes right at this 6'4" woman, scores over her like nothing. There's, I don't know, like I would put her in the top 3 or 4 most courageous players I've ever.
Really?
Like she was unbelievable. Her competitive spirit. You could never ask her to work harder, or she was willing to put everything on the line to win. Martin was like that. TL was
Mm,
like that.
so you say that those two are the most competitive people you've coached, you think?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
And that was
And it,
well, that
good.
was a good year too because we came in. We had back then GPAC had shrunk down to 4 teams. So I think we had 10 losses on the year and 8 were to U of W. They were on the 88 win streak.
Yes, 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 yes.
And then they didn't quite finish it.
Yes, yes. I interviewed Colleen and I said, what was your one of your greatest wins? And she's like, oh, let me tell you. Or one of your greatest moments, I think it was. And she said that moment. I was like, oh,
Larissa Crellin hit that little bank shot,
uh,
and then they missed a shot at the end. And they were phenomenal. I mean, that was a phenomenal team that Tom Kendall had put together. Those were phenomenal players.
yeah, yeah,
But that was our day. And it was at their gym, but that was our
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
And I can still remember Colleen and I at center kind of looking at each other going, okay, don't show too much emotion.
Yeah, yeah. Keep it together. But so you coached that, was it just how many years? 1 year?
1 year. 1 year, yeah.
Colleen just said, hey, I need some help. You reached out to her. How did that even happen?
Yeah, so she actually brought in myself and Joe Ogums. We were the assistant coaches.
Oh,
And it was kind of a transition thing. And it was good. It was really good. Like Colleen, clearly one of the best coaches in Manitoba ever, but probably one of the best coaches in Canada ever. Men, women. It's like when I say TL is one of the best competitors, not one of the best female competitors, just one of the best competitors. Colleen isn't one of the best female coaches. Colleen is one of the best coaches, period,
mm,
in the history of our country.
mm,
Like her teams were always good. Like she
hmm.
never had a down year. That just was unthinkable. And sometimes she had talent, then they won national championships.
Yeah,
And sometimes they had decent talent, and they played at least as good or their talent, usually better. Because she just knew how to make, yeah, she was amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I had to interview Colleen, and it was a special interview because like she like again, you know what you know, but there's a whole bunch of stuff you don't know. And like to ask like what's your greatest moment like, and to hear her describe that moment you're talking about and like talk about it, it's just like you get shivers, you feel that
Yeah.
you're like you're there. You're like, this is amazing.
So the
Um,
first time I met Colleen actually was 1984, 85. The women's nationals were in Manitoba. And so back then, the host team got a berth. That's the way it worked. If you hosted, you were the 8th team in. And she's coaching at the University of New Brunswick. And so I'm doing the scores table. And for those people know me, I wear glasses. And so she's at center, and it was a referee. I remember who it was. I won't mention his name. I'm not sure it was a good call or a bad call. I don't know. It was probably a decent call. And she goes, you got fog, yeah, you got all fog all over your glasses or sweat all over your glasses. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
see
yeah,
anything. And then I happen to be looking at her with my glass. She looks at me and she goes, "Your glasses are fine. It's his glasses." And
yeah.
that was my intro to Colleen. But
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah, Colleen and I have so much respect for Colleen. Just amazing. And then later when she was the athletic director,
Hmm.
she did a
Yeah.
great job there. She was always super to me. Um, yeah, she was just fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, no, I share the same sentiments. I was
Is
there.
fantastic.
I was there when she was the athletic director, and I remember at the end of the podcast, I just thanked her. I said, "You probably don't remember this, but like, you were there. For, like, I went to you a few times, and like, you're the AD. Like, you don't have to talk to me. I have coaches. She was there. She was a great leader. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I've always said this. Like, I've thought about this in sport. I mean, probably it just translates across the board. And I would put Colleen in this realm. She could have probably went on and coached many different sports, and you can learn the technical side, but there's something about like having people like follow you and trust you and believe in and you believe in them that she has that is special. So yeah.
It's like and one of the interesting things too. I coached those couple years with Rick, and then I coached again later at the Bisons actually also with Dan in 2005. It
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
for a year, and then again with Kirby. But I remember with Rick, we would be playing someone, and then at halftime we'd go into the locker room, and he would get up on the board, and he would diagram the other team's offense out to the 8th move, and I'm like, well, there's no way you know that. That's not possible. Because I'd have to study game tape to figure it all out, right? And then I'd get out, and he was like Rick's mind, because he played football and
Hmm.
basketball at McGill.
Yep.
his sports mind is among the best I've ever seen. He can watch something once and then go and diagram every step. And I'm like, I have to go. I get the tape, I forward it, I rewind. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
the post went here, there's a double screen here. So we have to find, like, Scott Martin's really good at analyzing video.
Mhm.
But we actually analyze video. Rick just goes, no, well, that's not, no, they just fought over top and they
It's
just,
just he just had it in his head, like he
and I'm
knew.
like, the first time that happens, you're like, you're full of crap. And you go, oh, you're just at a different level. His sports awareness was off the charts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Coach, I'm supposed to interview Coach. He's we weren't able to connect, so I'm excited for that interview.
Yeah, that'll be a
It's gonna be good, right? Because you talk
storyteller.
about storyteller. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, let's go. I'll just shut up, Coach. Just tell me your whole history. So okay, so I kind of want to ask you. You became somewhat of a career assistant, so to speak.
Yeah,
Tons of high school basketball. At some point, like obviously, you're coaching college and high school, clearly, because
yeah,
you can't have that many years of coaching.
yeah.
So, I mean, you love the game. There's no doubt about that. But like, what were some of your, I mean, again, you talked about some of the university coaches. You've coached with tons of high school, tons of other college, MCAC, Red River now. Maybe just, I mean, again, you probably have tons of stories on this, but who are some of those head coaches that you coached with that you created a special bond? And what were some of those experiences like?
Probably Scott Martin is the longest term, and he's put up with me for this long. But he was doing a regional team in like 1992 or something like that.
Okay.
He's still in university. I think we were both still in university, and he said, "Yeah, come out and coach with me." And that was kind of how I got into provincial team coaching. So
Uh,
I've coached with him at the provincial level. We did the provincial teams together. We've done Sisler together, and we've done CMU together. And so I, because I played college with Scott. So
yeah.
I don't know if people know this, but Scott used to do stand-up comedy.
No.
Dude, so this is the thing. Like, I know Scott, super quiet. And then, by the way, Scott in university, every time Scott walked down the hallway, all the girls' heads turned. And they were like, "That's Scott Martin." He was the guy in high school, in university, but pretty quiet and even keeled.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he tells me he's the MC for Yuck Yucks or Rumors. I'm like what? And he was a professional joke teller and humorist, and he's not as funny as he thinks he is, but he's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
that's
and
a
then
little gem right there, Scotty Martin Jen.
yeah, and then he was always super close. So we're coaching the June. The provincial teams used to call it midget. I don't think they call it anymore. And then it was juvenile 10, 11.
Hmm.
But then they actually had juniors, which were 12 and first year out. And way
Yes,
back when, if
yes.
you go far enough back, it used to be 25 and under.
Hmm.
So I remember, like I said, I got cut all those times. Everybody that I was playing against was university players, 23
Yes.
or 25.
Yeah.
And I'm like 6'4", 100 and, well, I played college at 6'4", 155.
Wow.
Yeah, and I could still barely dunk. No, I was okay. I was an okay dunker. But so we're coaching this provincial team. It was the junior provincial team. So, and Ogo, that was my first intro to Ogo. Super good athlete, great kid, like
Yeah.
one of the best. That's why
Yeah.
I've coached with him since then. I coached with him at Red River
Yeah.
and Fort Richmond. Just a great human being. But he was still learning the game. He was the reason he got on U of M is he was Randy Cassano's newspaper, a newspaper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He told this story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rick, I think we should recruit this guy. He's like, doesn't he deliver newspapers?
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember
he'd
this.
be
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're in the Bison Spring League, and I think it was Jeff Foreman that was on a team. He scores inside. Ogo didn't double down or do what he should have, and we're on a fast break going up, and Ogo runs by. Scott grabs him. Ogo, come here. And the play is going on, and he's holding Ogo, and Ogo's trying to get into the game. It's like, oh, coach, the game's going back and forth, 5-on-4. And Scott's head is like, he's hot. And I'm like, oh, what? Okay, that's but he's just a guy.
God,
His X's and O's are phenomenal.
man.
Taylor's a dude. We had this really, I think it's probably the best high school team since, if you talk about the two best high school teams in the history of Manitoba, I think they're Martin Riley Sisler team, which had 7 guys that went on to play university basketball, and then probably the high school team we had in, I think it's 2004, 5 or 5, 6. where we had 4 or 5 guys go on to play university.
Yeah.
We had a couple we lost once out in Regina, and we lost once to Louis. They had Nick and Dan,
That was yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's that's just a testament. If you want to talk about competitors, I didn't coach them, and I think they have talked back to every referee and every other coach on every other team. But those 2 guys are like, what are they, 5'10"?
Maybe,
That's
yeah.
being generous.
Yep.
But man, could they compete? They
Oh
just,
yeah.
if they were this good in a game, they were that good because they were just relentless. They were such, to this day.
Yep.
Like I still see Nick. He coaches some of he coaches a program,
Yep.
and his teams 100% competition all the time. And so that was the other loss. They got us early in the year. It was on the backs of those 2 guys because they had some other decent players, but those 2 guys were just so
Oh yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
And we kind of figured it out because we had 2 lines, like we literally went 5-5.
Yeah, I remember that.
We played Fort Richmond and sorry, no, we played Oak Park and Randy, and they were I think the number 2 or 3 ranked team. We were number 1, and it was 53-50 at the half. The Scott is Adam, play 5, play 5. We actually went 15. We had 3 shifts, and in the second half we tightened it down to 9 players or 10, and we won by 40.
Yeah.
That was the kind of team that we had. But we were already running kind of this open concept, high screen rolls.
Yeah.
Back then, it was we had a guy named Eric Garcia.
Of course, yeah.
And,
played with Eric, yeah.
Yeah, and Eric is about this big too.
Yeah, he's definitely maybe 5'7", maybe 5'8", maybe.
But his heart's this big.
Oh yeah.
And the first time he puts his head down and drives by a guy and does a spinning layup, inevitably he's on the ground spinning like a donut somewhere down there.
Of course.
And you go, okay, well, that's a pretty good layup. And then he hits a deep 3, and then he gets a steal. And like that team was special. Curtis Sansergit, Donar, all the guys on that team. It was just, again, Curtis is one of those competitive guys too.
Yep. Super competitive.
I've seen him throw balls at people, try but he brings that competition, that fight.
Yep.
Only special players have. And then Jonar is probably the most unusual player, maybe. He's a 6'1" post, and I've seen him destroy 6'8" guys in the block.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and he shoots threes and does all of this. And he went on to have Eric had a really good college career. So did Curtis.
Yep.
And Josh Elias actually played for us.
Yep. Josh Elias,
Josh Elias could have played U Sport too. Like
absolutely. Yeah.
All those guys were good athletes, and Josh was just at a different level of speed. You couldn't even see him on the court so fast. And then we had Abraham Daniels.
Yeah.
Also went on to play college basketball at USAC.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, and I don't know if people thought we were good coaches, but it's like, wow, we rolled the ball out and told them not to fight.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? Like, because I got to interview Scott Martin, and I obviously was there. I was watching all this stuff, but there's one thing that stood out about Scott Martin that I think you talked about the Ogo thing. I remember it was, I had that company Stat Trackers for a while, and it was halftime, early thing, and early in the year, and team goes to the locker room. He's like, no, we're going to use this next 20 minutes. We're doing a practice. And he just ran a practice at halftime. Yeah. Instead, why don't we go to the thing? We have the court. We just do it here. He's like, hey, why don't you do this? And I was like, this is amazing. And the reason why I bring that up is because it was also amazing to say, like, sometimes it's hard. The more talent you have, the harder it is to coach. There's like this level. It's like a diminishing returns. And if you're not good, like, 4 good players is 1 good player, easy. 2, 3, 4, pretty good. 5, awesome. Hey, we got 5. We got starters. 6, oh, it's great. We have a 6. But when you start going and having to play 8, 9, that's hard. And the genius of you guys just say playing lines, and you did it and you stuck to it. That was crazy. Because I remember watching. I was, in university, we're watching these games and like, this is insane. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing this. And then even in the second half, you'd only still cut it down. You're playing 9 players, and you'd literally go 4 new guys on, 5 new guys on. And I think that's the genius that you're talking about is. That's so unique. Most coaches would not do that. I would say vast majority of when they would just, some guys would get buried and they'd be like, oh, I hate Coach Joel and Scott. They didn't play me. But you guys are like, no, we're going to play as many people as possible. I think that team was absolutely special in that regard, right? That specifically, that you were able to do that. And I think that was really, really cool.
Yeah, we're doing pretty much the same at CMU now. We play kind of 13, 14 guys in the first half and into the third quarter, and then we trim it down a little bit and we just wear people out.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
you know, it's even when like you talk about teams, like I don't really like cutting. Like, it's funny, like when I was a player, I remember Dave Gus probably cut me. Dave, I love you, but you cut me more times than anybody from those provincial teams because he was doing it back then. I talked to him about it once. Why did you keep cutting me? And he goes, I didn't know who you were because I hadn't played college those years.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things that we always try to do is whenever we cut someone, you give them a good explanation because getting cut in grade 11. The coach only kept 10 players that year. He didn't keep 12, and I would have been the 11th guy. But it's probably
Mm.
what set everything in motion for me for it to work out
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, like, it's so unfair. Why did you cut me? And then you realize as a coach, it's like, you don't want to cut anybody.
Mm.
It's one of the hardest things you ever have to do.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know
But
that's
we just keep
it's
really big
tough.
teams and we don't cut anybody.
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep everyone around. I got to ask you a question about the MCAC and CMU and Red River because there's been some staples, Ogo, Souk. Obviously now you and Scott's been there for a long time. Like I was coaching there for a while. It's a league that a lot of people have been part of, but it doesn't really get as much like attention locally. So I mean, again, I don't really have a question here, but it's more so just I want you to maybe talk about how important or maybe your perspective on the MCAC and and also if you could talk a little bit about the success you had at Red River had during some of those times with Souk and stuff like that. I mean, just I don't know. Give us your take on the
Yeah.
MCAC, Red River, CMU now, how important it is for development, things like that.
It's right now it's a little bit awkward because there's not enough teams in Manitoba. So we actually play as part of the NIAC. So we play
Yeah.
over the border against some of the indigenous teams, college teams in the States, and some of the Christian colleges in the States.
Mhm.
We only get 4 years. We don't get 5
Because you're playing in that league.
because we're playing that league. Now, if you play 3, you can leave and go get 2 more at a U Sport level. So that's I wish we had 5 years.
Mm,
Because I'd like to have our players for longer, but
yeah.
yeah, just give them more opportunity. Um, Red River dropping out really hurt the league
Yeah.
because
That's tough.
they had a lot of talent.
That's
But
tough.
again, some of that because and like I said, I coached there with Ogo for 2 or 3 years and Souk for 3 years or whatever it was. We also benefited from having 28-year-olds sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I remember those days.
against 19-year-olds, it's like Chase played 2 years of U Sport, and then he played 4 years of university, 4 years
Yeah.
of senior men's, and he coached for a couple of years. Now he's going back to take a trade, and he's a
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
he's a man, and he's
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah.
man type stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that certainly helped us in some situations. Um, I think as the landscape of U Sport changes, I think the landscape of junior college, well, I'm going to lump MCAC and ACAC together, all that
Yeah.
CCA. I
Yeah.
think it's going to change because with the advent of NIL in the US, we're seeing people leave, even they're getting paid to go to a junior college in the US. So I think U Sport is going
Mm,
to have to start looking for different places and probably looking for more developmental talent and hanging on to
yeah.
somebody, which kind of hurts us because, like, honestly, when we're recruiting at CMU, or I think it was Red River was a bit different with CMU, we go,
Yeah.
we can't target the top 5 guys in the province because they're going U Sport.
Yeah.
So we target the next couple of guys and we go, okay, work hard this year, but not too hard. Listen to your coach most of the time. Get in the gym about half the amount of time. So you kind of, I say that jokingly, but I mean, the really good guys have opportunities that we just can't
Yes.
offer. So we kind of hit that next size, and often we get a lot of kids that might size out. They might not quite be big enough for U Sport.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think there might be an opportunity going forward where we might become a little bit more fertile ground for them to look at us and developmental talent.
Hmm. Hmm.
Most of the credits at CMU are transferable, same with Providence
Yep. Yep.
and St. B as well.
Hmm.
And so Sherwin's over at St. B now, so they're going to have a good program as well.
Hmm.
Um, and they've always been competitive, but just
Yeah.
Sherwin puts in so much work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's going to be phenomenal. So I think it was a great experience for me. Coaching with Ogo again was fantastic. We had fun years, had some great kids. Like we had uh, Paul. Oh, Paul, I feel bad.
From Lodowitz?
Lodowicz.
Yeah, I remember he played there,
So he
yeah.
played he played a year or two with UW,
Yep.
and then came back and played for us. In fact, we lost to you guys that year in the finals.
Yeah.
He was a guy that was 26, 27. He went back to take a trade. But just great kids during those years. Then I moved to San Diego for a couple of years. And those were some of the years I didn't coach because I was down there for 2 years. Came back and then started, just at the end of Sook's bench, kind of yelling at people and getting. I think that's what Sook. But again, Sook is just an expert. I don't know whether he inherited from Bill or it's just part of the. Bill Wedlake was always a
Hmm.
lot of X's and O stuff,
Hmm.
and so Sook was just fantastic at that too, and just really good at getting people
Hmm.
to play hard. So I coached with him and Chris Lucas again, and some other folks that Sook brought in and out. But Sook had a tremendous run there, and some of his kids moved on because he had Curtis
Yep.
Answer getting Jonar
Yep.
for
Yep.
a time. Um, but I think the NIL has got to sort itself out in the US because that
Mm.
kid, the number one kid, AJ Devonsa, signed at BYU for $7 million.
That's crazy.
I don't know about you, but when
That's
I went to
crazy.
university, I paid. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it cost me money, and I had to kind of, can I play? Can I please get some? Now but with that amount of money,
Yeah.
that's got to. I mean, that's not sustainable. It'll sort itself out,
Yep.
but that's going to be a drain because now they can look at Canadian college players and go,
Hmm.
"Hmm, you're pretty good. Let's bring you over."
Yeah. Yeah,
I can
for
understand
sure.
from a kid's point of view, like, how good would U of M be with, Hildebrand?
Yeah, he left. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
how good,
Hmm.
but it's a pretty good opportunity. Like he's playing Division 1 in North Carolina.
Yep.
It's not -40 outside where he is right
Yep.
now,
Yep.
and he's got some incredible upside. And his dad, and he's a Churchill guy, his dad too. So him,
Yeah.
Scott, and I go way, way back too. So I think the MCAC, it's going to be interesting. I think I'm a little bit worried about high school basketball with all the club teams coming up,
Mm.
and I think it's inevitable. And the club teams do a fantastic job. But the high school is not. High school used to be it and only it for growing Manitoba. The
Hmm.
good thing about the club teams, though, and you look at Sook's attack program and all the programs that have come up, we have more kids playing basketball than ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you win not by selecting 10 kids in grade 2 and staying with them forever. You win by getting 1,000 kids to play.
Exactly.
Some late learners, some late growers, and you get them excited. And so that whole grassroots program and volleyball has been doing that
Mm.
forever,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
forever. And Manitoba is a hotbed of volleyball for
Yep.
all of North America,
Yep.
all of North America. Like Garth at U of M, and his legend speaks for himself, of course. But our women's Ken Bentley there, our women's programs, our men's programs at U of W and U of M are phenomenal. But
Hmm.
they sit on top of the shoulders of these great club programs and great grassroots programs. And I see that
Mm.
starting to develop. I'm not sure what the impact will be to high school, but I believe the impact to basketball will be more kids
Yeah.
than ever
Yep.
and more opportunity than ever. I just wish we had even more gym time. Like I know some of these
Hmm.
clubs, it's hard to get gym time. We could do with 3 times the amount of gyms and it'd still be full. Like Neil Francis. So I coached that year, a couple of years at FRC, and our point guard was Neil with a K, so it's Keneal.
Yeah.
I think he started his own kind of basketball, that 204, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just great to see, people opening up gyms and getting gym space. And I see Suk has had some practices there already. So we need more gym time.
Yep.
It's just, again, it's tough to, there's financial constraints on the gym
Yeah.
time. But the
Yeah.
more kids that play, and we're bringing a different population that's arriving in Manitoba,
Yep.
and just there's so much opportunity for basketball in the future. I don't think the future's ever been brighter. How it all sorts out and how, we at CMU and the MCAC benefit, I think that's still kind of a work in progress.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's like you said it very clearly, though. It's like the more people that are playing, the more opportunities, the stronger maybe the community with regards to the amount of people, but the structure. And so there's some things that need to be sorted out, maybe structurally, facilities being one, but these things it's always a process with these things. Like I used to be with WNBA, and it was always like, we need more gym time here, or, people would be calling us about, and, we don't have enough officials, but it's okay. We still make it happen. And so
Yeah.
things are always constantly sorting themselves out, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how that all changes in the next 20 years. Because I mean, with club scene, who did I interview? Oh, come on, help me out here. Scherzier, right? He's one of the
Oh, Joe,
OG,
yeah.
yeah, OG club guys, right? Like I started one of the first clubs, right? And that was like what, like the late 90s, I think. And there was no one to play. Like they just right. And so we're talking like 2000s. It's been about 25 years, but it's only really taken off this last like 10, where like there's been an even more of an uptick. Like there's been these little upticks, and it's like club basketball, like you said, is starting to become what you do as far as being like an elite player. But to your point, more people playing, again, it's going to have a positive effect on the game overall. So we'll have to adapt at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
This is the way it goes. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. I have a few more
Okay.
questions that
Yep.
I want to ask you here. So these are going to be just direct questions, and you could
Yeah.
tell more than one. Just you probably have a
Yeah.
billion stories, but what's your most memorable basketball story on or off the court, or both?
Well, good question.
And more than one, so you can just if you pop to your mind and you want to share them, by all means.
I think that Sisler team winning that Sisler year. I think that 88 win game with Colleen,
Mm-hmm.
those stand out. Um, I'm trying to think of some other things. Some of them don't have to do with wins or losses, but
Mm-hmm.
and not like some teams that have really just dug in and worked hard. Like my CMU team, or Scott, the CMU team this year. And I'm always work hard. We've really dug in and come together as a team and work hard, and it's pretty special.
Mm.
Like we have an incredible team this year with hard work, and win or lose, I'm really proud of this team. And this is
Yep.
one of those teams where you just go, this is a special kids,
Mm.
special team, and we compete so. I give you everyone should come out. I'm going to throw a sound bite in here for CMU. Come out and watch us play. We go 6 or 7 deep at the guards, and we make life miserable. Like I hate to be pressed. Like, you get the ball, you turn up court, and there's nobody on. You go, that's fun. I'll get the
Yeah,
ball.
yeah.
We're
It's
pretty
easy.
good. And instead, you got someone that's on you in your
Oh,
shorts all the time. That's what we
man.
do. And just every time you leave a practice and you work hard, it's things like that. But also the first time I beat Martin.
I was gonna say you better say that.
That was
I was gonna ask you if you didn't say anything. I was like, you gotta
that
say
was
that.
that's pretty special. I've got Martin. If you're listening, it is you. It was 12,000 to 1 or 8. So I waited 4 years to do that. 5 years, whatever it was. So and then he beat me for another 4,000 straight.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was
Yeah.
that was that was kind of special.
Yeah.
I I I, I think winning that first high school provincial with Ross was pretty cool.
Hmm.
But they're more like that for me. For me, basketball is more of like if I were to ask you, what did you have for dinner 2 years ago today? You go, I don't know what I had for dinner,
Yeah.
but it added value to your life. You need to get that nutrition into your body. Like what we eat every day matters. So
Yeah.
for me, basketball is a bit more of a journey. And
Yeah.
the reward I get out of it is every time we've got a good practice and every time, somebody puts it all on the line and really competes and they get better as people and players. And I talk a lot about that hard work, that grit, that competition that I'm trying to instill in you. You take that on to the rest of your life and your life's going to be good. So my highlights are probably not the spectacular moments, but those kind of moments in between when you see somebody
Mm.
dive on a ball,
Yep.
you see someone helping their teammate off and they both run back and or we double team. It's more of those kind of things where I go, I get a warm feeling out of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
And
I
then
love
it's
it.
every time I run into so when Martin and I used to play 1-on-1 all the time, it would get crazy because he would hit incredible shots. But I was a really good 1-on-1 player. It never translated to games well, but Greg Philman used to come. So we old Bison East.
Yeah.
And Greg Philman would come in. Greg, by the way, he was a very, very good point guard at U of M.
Hmm.
And his
Hmm.
brother Dave I played with his brother Dave, was really good too. I remember Martin, and then sometimes when Martin put in these rules, 2 dribble limit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need 75 dribbles to get by you. That's not fair. So you'd end up taking these crazy off balance shots. But in my day, I was a really good shooter and scorer. I remember Greg, after finishing lunch, he comes down and he goes, "You guys hit the craziest shots." And whenever I see Greg now, I go, I can still remember he was there that day. And it's
Yeah. Yeah.
little venues like that, like being in the gym with Dan Becker, Dan and I, and a guy named Kurt Kelly. Kurt played for U of M and then Calgary at the end, 1 year national team. He's back in Winnipeg now. And we would meet every day in the gym, and it would be 2 hours of just grit and grind and attacking each other. They were both 6'7", 6'8", and 230 pounds, and I was like
Yep.
6'4". So I took the brunt of that. But just being in the gym with Dan, whenever I see Dan again now, it's just like good old days kind of thing. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
my highlights are actually just the everyday interaction with the people from the basketball world.
Hmm.
The Basketball Hall of Fame
Hmm.
have you ever been to that?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Like it's phenomenal.
Yep.
See these people that have become, like you said, part of your life for the last 40 years. So my highlights are probably not as important to me as the everyday interaction with the basketball community, people like you, people like that bring you nutrition every day and value to your life every
Mm.
single day. Those are
Mm.
probably the most important things. So, every time I see Ross, it's pretty special too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Adam's the head of Basketball Manitoba. Adam, I coached you, remember that? We got you some playing time, just remember that. I went to your uncle and lobbied on your behalf, so remember that. But I think it's more, it's the everyday rewards that matter to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that because it's like I open up the podcast and it was kind of like what the sentiment was, right? You've been a part of the game and it's every day, I guess, is your most memorable basketball story. It's just living every moment. And I love that so much because you are the guy like you're everywhere, like you're everywhere. You will pop say there's Joel, like, and that's kind of how it's been for me. Even when I didn't know who you were, I would see you. And then obviously I knew who you were. Then every time, hey, you always talk and say hello. It's just like you're that guy. And so I love that that was your answer because you've been part of a bunch of like, memorable moments. But the fact that it's like an everyday thing for you is that's the ball is life thing. That's like the community thing. It
Yeah.
makes me happy because this is like why we do this podcast. Because there's other people like you that just like love, they want to hear your story. And they're going to be excited, like, oh, I listened to Joel's. It's great. So okay, so I have another question though.
Yep.
This one you'll probably have a story. There's a few stories that I still remember. Ogo's is one of the funniest ones, just because the way Ogo tells stories and stuff. And I won't say Ogo's story right now, but go listen to the episode if you want to hear Ogo's funniest basketball story. So tell us your funniest basketball story, basketball moment. Again, it doesn't have to be on the court. It could be like in the locker room, the coach slip, like something crazy. Does anything come to mind when I asked you that question?
There's a couple. I'm going to pick on Dan for a sec.
Let's
So
do it.
Dan, like again, it's funny when I see people out at the provincial tryouts and they kind of, oh, he's Dan Becker, this tall guy. I don't know, he's with the Basketball Manitoba. You rewind it 35, like you take him out of the mid 80s, and he would be so good in today's isolation
Oh
type thing.
yeah.
But Dan played a year at St. Joseph's. So Dan is he's American or dual. I think he's a dual citizen. And so he was born in the US and his dad's from Philadelphia. So he played 1 year at St. Joe's. They actually had a kid that went to the NBA named Maurice Martin that played around the same time. And Dan got a little bit homesick or whatever, came back, ended up going to
Hmm.
Colorado. It was the Big Eight back then.
Yep.
And they had some really good, like Oklahoma was kind of top notch. But Dan has this sequence where he kind of steals the ball and he dunks on, I'm going to say it's Stacey King, but it might have been,
Uh, It was either Stacey
I
King or
don't know,
Harvey Grant. I think it
Harvey
was
Grant.
Harvey Grant. Yeah,
But it's
I've
an
heard.
incredible dunk. It's
Yes,
an
yes,
incredible dunk.
I've seen it, and he has a poster of it in his office.
Yeah.
Or he put it
But
up.
not only
Anyways.
that, but what he used to have is he had it on videotape. We're that old. We had VHS, folks. We had that old. And he had it. It was just you every time you went over to his house, if you turned on the VCR, it was rewound right to that moment. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I dunked on Harvey Grant. And he could play it. And that
Oh,
always kind of brought a chuckle.
back. Oh my goodness. I'm laughing because I worked in the office with them. And the
Yeah.
amount of times I've seen this for
Yeah.
a while there, and again, back, I would say this to your face. So I'm saying it now in front of everyone else. Well, he had a highlight reel, unbelievable highlight reel, by the way, because again,
Yeah.
phenomenal player. He put that thing in the VCR, he made it, or a DVD, and it was just playing like for a whole day, for the whole week, I think it was on. And eventually Adam's like, take this off, like stop playing your highlight reel, man. And that was after that. And then he was trolling Adam and he took a poster, he made like a poster, put it on the back of Adam's door. So every time the door would open, you'd see this thing of him. But
But
yes, it's
I'd say again, Dan and Elliot. Dan, had he grown up with you know,
oh
access to more competition early
oh
on,
yeah.
he's an NBA. He's Dan. He had like a 38-inch vertical,
Yep.
big hands, could shoot, could dribble, could pass.
Yep.
He just didn't have the competition level to really compete against early
Yeah.
on. But he
Mhm.
would have been an NBA player, no question. like
Without
no
question.
question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and
Yeah.
LJ.
Dan tells the story, and like obviously he had a few snips and stuff like that, but he kind of says the same thing, like he was always a little bit of step behind development wise. And then also it was interesting. You mentioned like the game now compared to then. Man, like he's
Yeah.
shooting, he's built for it. Like the way the game's played now, a little different, and he was still phenomenal back then. So,
You know,
um,
there's one other one that kind of comes, not, it's kind of a memorable thing. So Dan's year, Dan was at FRC.
hmm,
Godfrey Brown was at Kildonan East. And people don't know who Godfrey Brown is. You, no idea, I don't think.
no, I don't know
Six
that name.
three, probably the best shot blocker, regardless of height, ever in this province. His arms went on forever, but he was unbelievable. Played 1 year at UW and then ended up playing a bit overseas. And there was a guy named Cliff Humans, and he played at Grant Park. And those three guys, well, Dan and Cliff were always at Bison East. And Cliff, about 6'1", 6'2", decent athlete, but had all the crazy. He would be in the gym sometimes and just shoot left-handed, even though he's right-handed,
Hmm.
for like an hour. So he keeps telling, he's pretty good. And he ended up playing Division I in the US, went 2 years junior college, he's done phenomenally well in life. But he's at Grant Park and they're playing Churchill. And this is maybe my third or fourth year university. I'm on second or third year university. Must have been second because they were in grade 12. And I keep telling Cliff, well, okay, I'm going to come to one of your high school games. I'm going to come to one of your high school games. And Cliff goes, okay, sure. So I show up at this game. And of course, before that, before the game starts, I go over, okay, Cliff, I made it all the way to Churchill. I take a bus to get here. Show me your stuff. And he had 67 of 73 points.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't miss many shots. So Cliff, that's a shout out to you. I remember
Wow.
that day. I think I'm your living link to that. But it is the best high school single game thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
67 of 73. He had all but 6 points.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I don't know him.
Yeah, he left right after high school, played two
Yeah.
rolling roll college in LA, and then he played
Okay.
2 years of U oh well, 1 year at University of San Diego at La Jolla, not the
Hmm.
University of San Diego. And one of his colleagues then is actually the coach of St. Mary's University now. It's always a top 25 program in the US.
Hmm.
And Cliff went to Northside for a year, and then he started a business empire down there. And his
Okay.
little brother Al, you're not his little brother, you're his brother. They moved down there, super successful. But Cliff, those top three were as good a top three as the history in Manitoba. All
Hmm.
three of them were just off the charts good.
Interesting. Wow. I like a billion more questions, but we got to end it right away.
People are gonna get
uh,
bored watching all this.
no, no, trust me. The people who listen, this is like gold to them. They're just like, this is amazing. I like to end with some advice. I mean, I've whenever I do these podcasts, I always absorb some bit of information, even if it's just through like all the stories. But for you, it's really just been one of a love of the game and connectivity and community and working hard. I think it's kind of like my takeaway of your journey, right? Like you keep
Yeah.
saying, like, I got cut on, you got to show up to get cut, right? You got to love the game and just keep coming and keep showing up, right? So for me, just that working hard and just being someone who just doesn't give up. You love doing something, man. That's the beauty of it. You love it. So just keep doing it, right? But regardless of what's going on. So that's what I got from it. But I'm wondering if you were now speaking. I like to frame this way. You're speaking to some young basketball players. They got some talent. Maybe it's a high school team. And you know what? You want to give them some advice, something to go and walk out of that room. They're never going to see you again. And you want to give them something that they're going to remember about the game that you've learned and you want to pass on to them. It could be one or two, three things. What would be some of those lessons that you'd really want them to take with them in their journey?
I think you already summarized it pretty well. Whatever you choose to do in life, work really hard at it. And that doesn't mean, like, I was a bit obsessive at times. So again, if you go way back in time, I had a key to Bison East. I had a key to the gym. There were two
How'd you pull that off?
okay, there was Little Joe and Big Joe. Those are the two janitors, caretakers. I don't want to,
Yeah.
So Big Joe was 5'6", Little Joe was 5'3". So Big Joe wasn't that big. He's old Italian, and Joe, he was there every night, and I would be there in the morning, in the night, And he finally gave me a key, and I talked to him about my mom, and he goes, "You take care of your mom, and you shut off the lights and lock up the doors." He had a strong Italian, but he was
Yeah.
so good to me. But I had a key. Find what you love. You don't have to spend 80 hours a week, but whatever time you put into it, make that time count. Think about the things that you want to do, set a
Yeah.
goal. I'm very goal oriented. I'd like to accomplish this. Now, goals aren't always meant to be met. You don't, if you're meeting all your goals, you probably didn't set them quite high enough. So take that there. Like I tried out for the national team one time. They had the tryouts at UW. And I'm a shooter. I was back then. I really was a shooter. I shot the leather off the ball. Unfortunately, that day they didn't go in. I don't think I hit a shot. I remember Chedu Odiatu, so he's in that group with Dan and all that. And he goes, well, shoot or shoot. And I shot myself out of national team contention. But I can guarantee you that if I hadn't taken them, there was no way they were going to look at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So set your goal and then do the necessary things, and you still have enough time to go and have fun. I tell kids in university in particular, you're only in school realistically 15 hours a week. That's pretty much a full course load now. 5 courses is about 3 hours. Spend the equivalent amount of time studying. So another 15 hours, that's 30 hours. That's the least amount you'll ever work. That religiously, you will graduate with a really good degree. And then apply some of that time to either a second job, to a relationship in your life. If it's sports, apply it to sports, and figure out what it's going to take to get you there. Get in the weight room, do some extra training, do some extra shooting, but set some goals and go, what are the steps I need to get toward that goal? I always, like, I'm starting a new business actually. Literally January 2nd, I just left the last couple of places I'm at, and we have a set of goals, and we're going to accomplish those, or we're going to try really hard. I think I used to say this a lot, like whenever I was having cuts, and I tried to do cuts face to face all the time. Sometimes, you got 150 kids, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And I go, the best thing you can do is if I've cut you, come back in 2 years and stick it in my face. Tell me, you messed up. You should have kept me, because look at me, I'm a good player now.
Yeah.
And do that. And if I have to be like probably getting cut in grade 11 set everything in motion for me, because it helped me be goal oriented. I'm going to make a varsity team. And then when I finished grade 12, I remember Ross Wedlake saying to the Bisons, he goes, "You can make it." He goes, "They're not that good. You're not that bad." That's
a classic Ross thing right there. That's perfect.
That was how he
summarized. Yeah.
But again, like 3-4 years, and I made the team, and it changed my life. It's okay to fail. I don't believe in failing as a great learning thing, but you want to set your goals high enough, but just put in the effort. Don't cheat yourself, and try. And then if a coach cuts you, go back 2 years later and say, "Hey, here's what I am. You made a mistake." Because I've made mistakes. I've cut kids where I look at it after, I'm going, what the heck was I thinking?
Yeah. Man, that's the thing that I really love that you said there is if you're achieving all of your goals, you're probably not setting them high enough. And I think that's big time. You want to achieve your goals and you want to set achievable goals, but if you never have something that you're really, really, really pushing for, probably not trying that hard. Because my goal is just to get up at 10 a.m. every day, or those are easy goals, right? I can pull that off. That's not that hard. But if you're really pushing yourself and working hard, it's going to require you to set some goals that you may not achieve. But the purpose is in that process of just going down that path. And I love that. I love it. I think it's a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Percy.
I knew you're going to be a great storyteller because I've heard them before. The one thing I'll say before we get off the podcast is, and again, I don't mean this in any offense, but there's a certain level, there's like an age cutoff, and everybody above there is pretty good at stories. And again, there's probably a bunch of social and technology reasons behind this, and everyone below is, it's not the same. Like they talk differently, and you're in one of in the class that I just love to just let you talk and tell stories. And I really, really enjoyed this, man. It was great. So I appreciate it. Yeah,
I appreciate it. I thank you, and thank Basketball Manitoba. And what did you say your editor's guy name was, Dan?
Daniel, yeah.
Daniel, thank you, Daniel. If I did anything, if I had any kind of tweaks or if my eyes were twitching, please edit those out, or maybe, I don't make my living up here, that's for sure. You have to grade some of that out or take some of the lines out. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. It's been great. It's been really good. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share this series, and reach out to us with your comments on the show. Thanks again for joining us.